Hey YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2, and this is E2E version 1.75. So, last time we fought the Chaos Dragon and got our creative fluid tank. In the last couple days I've just been sort of lost and waffling a bit. It's just been a lot of crafting grinding, so not too much exciting going on. I can show you where we're at here. So this is our creative power cell. That's one of the next things on our list. We're almost there. We need a couple of rainbow generators. But I've been rounding up all of this stuff. Here is the creative generator for EU. Got a large part of that done. Actually, did I start the inductions for those? No, I didn't. I think I was waiting for... I think I printed up more steel casings from UU Matter before starting this. I think that's good to go now. One nice thing is I actually went through and fixed, if you're playing this, you're probably used to things like the advanced energy cubes not auto-crafting, etc. I went through and fixed that, so those are working now. Basically, if you let the AE system, the ME system, auto-populate an advanced energy cube, or maybe it's even the basic energy cube. I think it's the advanced energy cube that holds things up. If you let it auto-populate a ghost advanced energy cube, that recipe doesn't work. But if you make an advanced energy cube and actually click it into the recipe, then it does work. So those should be able to be made. So those 12 will go into, let's see, this is our, which one is this? This is the generator. So those ultimate induction providers will go into this corner, so we're getting closer there. The creative gas tank, started working on that. That's coming along. Not too much to talk about really here. Having to come up with 512 buckets of liquid DNA, 512 buckets of UU matter, 512 buckets of neutron fluid, and 512 buckets of primal mana. This is why I went ahead and did the creative fluid tank first. Even after getting the creative fluid tank last episode, I went to start working on these guys, and I looked at this recipe and I was like, oh no, what? That much liquid DNA? I don't know if I have enough. Oh my god. And I remembered, oh duh, I have infinite amounts of liquid DNA at the moment. So that wasn't too bad. Let's see, what else can I talk about? One of the things I'm running into is I sort of just realized that I've become somewhat dependent on my creative fluid tank. However, the creative gas tank uses it up. And then the creative vending upgrade wants another one. So we have to bare minimum make one more. And if we want to actually have one for end game, we actually need to make two more. So I'm just sort of trying to wrap my brain around making two more of these bad boys. Obviously it's going to be a bit easier now that we have infinite fluids. So, I have basically ethanol and tree oil and primal mana and UU matter. That's not going to be a problem to get. A lot of these I only made one bucket of, so I'm having to go back and make that. But now if I want to make two more creative tanks, at least I'll only have to get all of these fluids once. So that's a thing. What else can I talk about? I did finally start making some benitoite. I hoped I was going to have enough. I thought I made enough until I realized I didn't quite. For these things, let's talk about this. Mana pearls, we know and love those. Those aren't too hard. As long as you have some mana, you're good to go. Elementium, got plenty of that for my mob farm. armor being recycled in the arc furnace. Nature pylons weren't too hard. Mana diamonds not too hard. Pixie dust, stardust, resonating gem, um, the colored lens. Nothing too complicated there from astral sorcery. Um, the only one of all of this that really sort of was a pain in the butt was the acceleration runes, and I will show you why. So I made 13 for my first batch, and I now wish I had made more like 40 or 50. But the thing that's slowing me down here was my goal was, I thought to myself, okay, if I make 12 bonitoites or 13 bonitoites, I'll use 12 up getting to the creative vending upgrade, and then that 13th one I can just, make infinite amounts of it. Because we use, 4 for the creative gas tank, and we use 4 for the creative power cell, and that's about it. I think there was a few more that I needed to use somewhere for something. But anyway, I figured it out, and I thought, okay, that's going to be about right. What I did not count on was there are actually a couple of infinity ingots in the creative vending upgrade. And if we look at those, these are going to require infinity catalysts and ultimate singularities. And the infinity catalysts actually require a bonitoite. So basically, we need 2 infinity ingots. So that's 22 infinity catalysts. So we're going to need another 22 bonitoites. So that's sort of a pain. But anyway, back to the only thing that was really painful for them. All of this stuff was not too hard to make. If you're at the point where you're making creative stuff, most of this is not hard. The only one that was sort of a pain in the ass was the acceleration runes, and that was because I wasn't planning on using a lot of blood magic, so I just went the self-sacrifice route and didn't automate blood for it. But if we look at here, each one of these requires 4 blood tier tanks, blood tanks tier 1, and then each blood tank tier 1 requires 5 blank runes, and then each blank rune requires 2 blank slates. So if we go back here, so for 1 acceleration rune, for 1 bonitoite, we need 4 of those, times 5, so we need 20 blank runes, times 2 is 40. So we need 40 blank slates per bonitoite. And so now when you're making, say, 13 of them, suddenly you're making 50 plus blank slates. That's a lot of blank slates. So 40 times 13, 500-ish blank slates. And 500-ish blank slates gets real tedious real quick if you don't have that automated. And so now I also have to make another, probably 1,000 blank slates. And so I might have to revisit my blood temple and actually get some automation, some automated blood creation going on. So we might have to put a ritual down there and actually, make some sacrificing some witches or something underneath here. We do have this room under here, so we've got area, and I could hog this out more, so it's not a big deal. It just might be a project I need to do that I was sort of hoping to avoid. I did go ahead, since we have a creative fluid tank, I went ahead and made a huge tank full of life essence. Unfortunately, these things are geared to pump in blood or life essence really, really slow. We're talking 20 millibuckets per second. As you can see up there, it's a life essence ticking in, which is fine for just sort of a maintenance kind of thing. And you can up that sum with the what's it called? It was been renamed the displacement rune. You can up that sum, but you can't upgrade that a huge amount. Um, so right now, this is sort of okay for maintenance, but it's not really going to do anything for crafting. So probably going to have to set up a ritual and set up some blood automation for that, just to get us enough benitoite to make it to the creative vending upgrade. So that was benitoites. Another thing I did was, now that I have a creative fluid tank, in theory I have unlimited UU matter. So I wanted to revisit that and see if there were any other recipes that might be good for us. So scrolling backwards through things, I added insulated tin cables, insulated copper cables, 2x insulated gold cables, tin cables, HV cables, gold cables, copper cables, storage upgrade 5, although at 4.6 buckets, it's really slow to craft these. So I have enough emeralds that it's easier to just craft them. But I was interested to see that it went in. For some reason, speed upgrades for nuclear craft is on there, and it's actually sort of cheap at 21 millibuckets. However, the energy upgrades are not. And these aren't that expensive to make, so I don't know if I'll ever actually use that much, but it was interesting that it went in there. Glass, you wouldn't think I would need to do that. It's like, glass is no big deal, right? Well, let's take a look at some of these recipes we're facing in the end game. So, for instance, which one is it? So if we take a look at this bad boy, the creative generator, it requires 12 high voltage solar arrays. In addition to that, there are some other things that require high voltage solar arrays. So for instance, if we take a look at the creative power cell, it requires 2 tier 5 solar array controllers, each of which require high voltage solar arrays. So the bottom line is, between the creative generator and the creative power cell, we're looking at needing 16 high voltage solar arrays. No problem, we have that programmed into our ME system, right? Well, here's the problem. If I'd go, give me 16 of these. So 16 requires roughly 15,000 sand, or 15,000 glass. Oh, sorry, no. 23,000 glass. So I don't care if you have glass programmed into your ME system. 23,000 glass is going to take a while, and whatever machine you have programmed to make 23,000 glass is going to be tied up for all that while. Things like crafting 1,000 LV transformers, needing 81,000 cobblestone just to make the furnaces, to make the 8,000 furnaces that you need. 32,000 tin item casings. Sure, I have that automated through a metal former, an IC2 metal former, so that I don't have to use engineering hammers on it. But 32,000 of them? Come on now. 62,000, well, 65 because I have some available. 65,000 iron plates. Okay, so I've got a metal press, no big deal, right? Well, while that metal press is going, it can't make anything else like the aluminum plates we need. So the bottom line is, some of these things, especially, I'd say probably the HV, high voltage solar array, are just a pain in the ass. 16,000 basic control circuits, 16,000 tin plates, to go along with the, 65,000 iron plates. So you have to basically find ways to help your ME system or plan way, way, way ahead. And so that's why I was looking at things like, oops, let's look here. So that's why I was looking at things like glass. Now at 290 microbuckets each, it's not that bad. So if we go through here, glass, and we hit go. So with 10 overclocker upgrades, it's pumping out glass at a reasonable rate. And we have infinite UU matter now, so hey, no big deal, right? So it's probably not that big of a deal. I haven't tried it yet, but it's probably not that big of a deal to, just fill a double chest with it, or just hook this up to your ME system and call for a bunch of glass, and that frees up your smelters for doing other things. So similarly, the item casings are actually pretty darn fast here. If we look at, here's some iron casings here. Again, you can see how fast they're going with 10 overclockers. Not too bad. Faster than my metal former, and it doesn't plug up my metal former. So that's something to keep in mind. Oddly enough, you can do the LV transformers and the CESUs through here. Now the CESUs at 8 buckets each are just too slow. It'll do them, but it does them so slow that it's not really worth dealing with. But the LV transformers at 233 millibuckets are actually fast enough, and it will cut down on your wood usage. These are not too bad of a helper. So if we look at LV, let's look at it over here. So insulated tin cables, if you're trying to make those, the tin cables through an extruding metal former, that's going to save you some time there. It's also going to save you some plastic or rubber, and it'll also save you a bunch of copper cable and a bunch of wood. And you're like, yeah, but LV transformer, whatever. Well, again, if we look at those solar arrays, let's see. And let's say we're making them 16 to try and get through the creative stuff. You're going to need 1,024 LV transformers. Again, making an LV transformer, not a big deal. Making 1,024 of them, now you're getting serious. That's where a lot of this, 8400 copper cable comes from. It's where the 3780 wood there comes from. These planks, we're using a lot of wood up on those. So the LV transformers are one that I think are probably useful when you go to make solar arrays. What else? Was there anything else really of interest here? Rubber you can make in there. It's only 100 millibuckets. It goes reasonably fast. Not fast enough to really make thousands and thousands of it, I would say. Sort of just depends on what you have going. If you're like me and have automated, or have a ton of plastic from the latex and have been using that instead of rubber, but then you encounter a rubber only recipe that does not use plastic, this might be a good way to get you some rubber. Here was sort of a weird one. So Ender IO fluid tanks. I'm not sure why these are here and why they're so cheap. At 4 millibuckets, they are deadly cheap. And let's see, where are they? Here they are. So, you can pump these out fast. Look how fast those suckers are going. Boom, 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 boom. So I went ahead and made a bunch of those, and I'm going to use them just as sort of library in replacement of like normal buckets. I'm going to use these as sort of just a library of liquids. So if we come in here and go tank, you can see I've already got some of this started. So here's one of those with 16 millibuckets of, or 16 buckets of milk, primal mana, latex, diesel, liquid chlorine, IC2 coolant, lava, lubricant, gasoline, blazing pyrotheum, molten lithium, liquid starlight, liquid DNA, UU matter, life essence, etc. So that's why I printed out so many of these. They're really cheap and really fast, cheaper and faster than dealing with buckets or any other kind of tank. And so they allow me to sort of keep a library, a reserve of all these fluids that I might want to use in my creative fluid tank. So I started that as soon as I realized I was going to be consuming my creative fluid tanks and that I wanted to make 2 more creative fluid tanks. I want to make a library of things like goat milk so that if I have to make more for some sort of surprise, I will know how to do it. So those I think are a good use of UU matter. It's just making a ton of those. Again, at this point, with unlimited UU matter, it's like that's faster than running up a bunch of damn buckets in the AE system, ME system. So that's one thing going on. I don't think there was anything else too stunning. The item casings are a big deal. The LV transformers, sticky resins. I saw that they could be scanned in there, but then I scanned them in and they were 33 buckets. That's a no bueno. Again, infinite UU matter, so I'm not worried about losing 33 buckets of UU matter. It's just way too slow. Turning 33 buckets of anything into anything with the replicator just takes forever. Reinforced glass is super cheap for some reason. Just thought that was interesting, but we're talking 805 micro buckets. So I don't really have a use for it, but I found it interesting. Iron plates. So iron plates, you do end up needing tens of thousands of iron plates. And so you're going to probably have to do something to help you out there. Now you can see they come out of here pretty darn fast, so I'd say this is definitely something to do. But you might actually just need to use all hands on deck when you need to make a bunch of iron plates. So for instance, I cobbled together, I have a couple of pressurizers from Nuclear Craft with some upgrades in them, speed upgrades in them. And I just fill this chest up with ingots every once in a while. And now I can make them with UU matter too. And then of course we've also got the normal way to make them for me, which is my system usually makes them through my metal presses here. But yeah, I did figure out that if I gave it enough power, I could speed up the hell out of these things. So I could click accelerate the middle block here, this guy here. But if I do it with its normal power system, it chokes on power. But if I put a flux point on there, I could crank up the speed at which this thing was going for plates pretty darn fast. So that's another option. What else? Let's talk a bit about handling the creative tank. I went through a round of making more stuff for ultimate ingots. So in a lot of cases, I just melted one ingot that I had here, and then let's actually just do that on something that, because I am going to need to make more ultimate ingots at some point. Yeah, let's just do this guy. So we're going to set up something organized for making singularities and making tons of stuff, but what you can do is you can throw stuff in here. I sort of like the melter because it's a little easier to get things in and out of than trying to pump it out of the smeltery. Um, but yeah, we can tick accelerate this bad boy. And there we go. The gauge dropper has turned out to be pretty critical in my use of the creative fluid tank. It'll act like a bucket on many things. It'll also work inside GUIs for a lot of things. And it also allows you to void things in GUIs for many machines, not all machines. And also just destroy things without the use of a fluid tank or anything. You have to play around whether it's left click, shift left click, right click, shift right click. But let's say, for instance, I right click here. Okay, so I've now picked up 144 millibuckets of enchanted metal, molten enchanted metal. So that's another crucial thing about the gauge dropper. It'll handle sub-bucket quantities. So instead of, I didn't have to have an entire bucket of enchanted metal, I've got it with a 1 ingot, 144 millibuckets. So that saves me some time. And then I can right click it on here and boom, infinite amounts. So that's a handy thing. 1 ingot in there, and then right click to pick it up, 1 ingot's worth, right click to put it in, and away we go. And now I could turn this on and shoot a bunch of stuff through here, and boom, I have tons of this stuff. This is an ingot former, which is going to be a crucial partner to the creative fluid tank. And it basically will just take this fluids and turn it into stuff for us. And then that's pumping out into an inner chest and into my ME system. But now let's say we're done. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Now what? Well, now I have a created fluid tank full of, 2 billion stuff. How do you get rid of that? You're not going to bucket it out. You're not going to pump it into a fluid trash can. Here's where the gauge dropper again can be really helpful. If I right click on this and open it up, grab this and shift left click. Boom, emptied. Pretty darn cool, huh? Sometimes it'll work on interfaces and sometimes it won't. So you just sort of got to play around with it. But another thing you can do here is if I pick up a little bit of blazing pyrotheum, throw that in there, we're good to go. Another thing I wanted to show you that the gauge dropper can do is I can pick up some. So now my gauge dropper is full. Let's say I've emptied out. Oh, hey, I have a better way to show this because this something I have to do all the time. We're done here, right? We've moved on to a different liquid. Our ingot former is, pumped out a ton of enchanted metal. We've got 16 freaking millibuckets left over in our ingot former. Now you can shift click to clear the tank, but not all machines have that ability. So for machines that don't have that ability, you can shift click here and suck it out. So now I've destroyed it there. And then the other thing you can do is you can pick up a bucket and you can shift right click on the ground to empty your gauge dropper. So if you see down here, we've got 1 bucket of stored blazing pyrotheum, and without having a fluid trash can or anything, if we shift right click on that on the ground, we have now emptied it. So that's another good way to get rid of things. So that's the kind of stuff we're doing here. So we're going to open this up, shift left click, get rid of our blazing pyrotheum, and now we're going to, this is something I actually need to do. I just got, let's see, yeah, you can see here I've got a kid, an alpine kid, so I got a goat to breed, and actually it looks like a couple of them have bred. Now that I know I need more creative fluid tanks, at least 1 more, preferably 2 more, I needed to go through this whole creative tank recipe again. So one of the things I needed was goat milk. so I gave them some food. I just kept an eye on them until I saw a kid, and when I saw a kid, I went and right-clicked with a bucket on all of the does and found the one that had given birth and got some milk. But now I don't want to have to go through this again, so we're going to go ahead and fill up our creative fluid tank with goat milk, and then we're going to right-click it with one of our really cheap, fast Indrio fluid tanks, and now we have 16 buckets of goat milk that we're going to throw in the old library here. Just going to throw that up in here, and now I never have to worry about that again. As long as I have a creative tank, I will have some milk somewhere, goat milk somewhere. So then I'm going to go ahead and make 2 buckets of that. So here's one. I want to make 2 more creative fluid tanks. We're going to use one up on the gas tank and one up on the vendor units, and then I want to be in the game with one still active. So they don't stack. And I'll just throw them in there for now. So there I go. There, I've started working on my 2nd and 3rd creative fluid tanks. Open this up, shift left click, and we are good to go. But what else are we going to do here? One thing that's been really important is I almost panicked when I saw how much plastic I was going to need for some of these recipes that I was doing until I realized I had unlimited latex. So that's good. I've got latex hooked up to a couple of machines in there, latex processors, turning them into tiny rubber and turning that into dry rubber and turning that into plastic, so that's good. I've started thinking about what I want to do for singularities. If I grab my tank here, I've sort of set up a trial thing here, and we can see if it's going to work. This is not optimized for the smallest possible footprint or the most efficient use of phantom liquiphases. So, but basically what we're going to try here is we've got a creative fluid tank that is going to have unlimited molten metal in it. We're going to hook that. It's connected now to the phantom liquiphase. So now this thing is basically a mirror of that thing. So that gives us 6 more sides. You can come in through the top and the bottom, but that trying to make 3-dimensional structures here was just sort of a pain in the butt, so I'd rather sort of spread it out and just do it that way. But that allows me to now pull straight off of 4 sides into 4 ingot formers. And then those ingot formers underneath them, see if we can see here. Yeah, underneath them they have got energy circuits and item circuits, item conduits and energy conduits that hook them up to this. Let's see, show it here better. To hook them up to this power and to hook them up to this ender chest, which is going to send stuff to my ME system. Or actually, it's probably going to send stuff. I've actually changed it. I'm actually going to send it straight to the quantum compressor for making singularities. Because we're going to have to make probably, let's see, we're going to need 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. So between the ingots, the infinity catalysts for the ingots, and the ultimate singularities, we're probably going to need like 13 of most of the major singularities at least, and we're going to need a 14th one so that once we have the vending upgrade, we can put them in a drawer and have infinite amounts of them. So 14 of these, it's going to be like 140,000. Oh, and actually we need 2 ingots. Pardon me, I keep forgetting that. And we're going to need 2 ingots. So we're actually talking about 13 and 13 is 26, and then another one. So we're talking about 27. So that's 270,000 of all of the stuff that is required to make these. So 270,000 diamonds, 270,000 gold, 270,000 silver, etc. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set up, say, for instance, molten silver in here. We will hook up all these phantom faces to the tank. And so they will all have molten silver, infinite molten silver too. And they will all be pumping that molten silver into ingot formers. And those ingot formers will be sending all of those silver ingots into our quantum compressor to make silver singularities. So I just sort of started mapping this out. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work or what it's going to look like, but we could give it a shot. Which one do I want to start with? I think maybe to start with, we'll just start with the simplest one, because I have a ton of iron, but I don't know that I have... I mean, I have enough iron that I could just pump it all straight in there. But this will give me a chance to make some iron singularities. So 275,000. So I have almost enough to actually just do this. We're going to need like 270,000, and I have 275. But I don't want to use it all up. So probably what I'm going to do here is... let's go ahead and melt one of these. Bueno. So now we have 1 ingot's worth here. Boom. Now we have all of that. So that means this should have all of that. And that means that should have all of that. Alright. So that is working. Now the reason I'm spreading it out like this is we're going to be limited quite a bit by the cables. So I want to be able to pull... I want a separate cable face for each cable, so that this one can be pulling out at its highest speed, and that one can be pulling out at its highest speed. Now these are going pretty slow, but you can see they're like have plenty of stuff here. So now what I can do is go through and do the speed upgrades on these bad boys. So some of those. And I'm not too worried about power, because I think even if I speed all these up, I will have tons, but let's go ahead and make some of those. So you can only use as much of these as you use speed and upgrades, so I like to keep them about the same speed. And I think they start getting less effective when you start getting much above 20. They start getting a little crazed. But let's go ahead and start out with maybe, say, 18 and 18 and see what it looks like. Alright, so we're keeping up fine with power. It's using 19,000 RF per tick, which I can handle, no problem. We're keeping up with the tank, which is good. We're not keeping up with extracting from here. How are we looking over here? Oh, so this isn't hooked up to anything yet, so we'll have to take a look at that. This is what I need to play around with, and which is why I haven't set all this up yet. So there's a lot of things to balance here. I want to... we want to create as much of this as fast as we can, but we can pretty much only go as fast as we can get iron into Let's go ahead and pause this for a moment. We're not. We can basically only go as fast as we can move the ingots around. So I don't think I have... I'm going to have to go down below to see these. Because I can't remember if I have put extract. Okay, so I haven't put extract speed upgrades into these, so I can get ingots out of the ingot formers much faster. Then the last thing I need to look at is how fast I can get ingots out of an ender chest and into the quantum compressor. So where did I put my quantum compressor? This bad boy. Now I played around with this in my last attempted playthrough when I was working with pistons, and it didn't seem to be too limited by speed, so I think the top speed on an item conduit for Ender IO seems to be about a stack at a time, so I think that's about as fast as we'll go there. But the bottom line is I can make more quantum compressors, so we'll hook this up, we'll get all 16 of these guys pumping out iron ingots as fast as they can, and then we'll make enough quantum compressors to keep up with them. And then we'll see what kind of rate we are doing on making our singularities. So that is sort of the plan here. And I will probably work on this quite a bit today and probably not show you the results on this until I get it all figured out next time. But let's see what else I'm working on. Let's see. Let's talk about these other creatives and where the sticking points are. We already talked about the Benitoite and how much blood you're going to need for how much you're going to need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of runes, blank runes, or blank runes, blank slates, pardon me, for the tanks required to make these. That's probably the worst part of all of this. The rest of this stuff we sort of have set up. The induction cell things, they do require an awful lot of materials, and they do really bog down your ME system. So any way that you can help them out is going to be good. That does remind me, thinking along those lines, and other things that I scanned here that we didn't talk about was advanced circuits and electronic circuits. So the advanced circuits, 213 millibuckets, they don't pump them out horribly fast. These are equivalent to the orange advanced control circuits. But what you use a ton of when you start building huge bulk amounts of mechanism things are actually the basic control circuits, which are equivalent to electronic circuits. And so this recipe here, electronic circuits, can actually be pretty helpful for getting a lot of those induction matrix things, both the acceptors and also the so these guys with 10 overclockers, it hauls ass. So you can make these probably considerably faster than you can make your automated basic control circuits through your ME system. So again, you can pipe this out here. What I do is I just set a chest, and like if I decide I want to make 9 stacks of it, I'll just do that, and it'll output those into there. And then I can walk away, and when I come back I have 10 stacks, the 9 here, and one here. Looks like I need some extract speed guys on this one too. I'm not used to making things that fast. And probably 7 is enough. 7 is half a stack per operation. Oh yeah, that's plenty. So anyway, if you see that you have something that calls for, say, 50,000 basic control circuits the way you have it set up, and your poor energetic infuser factory is looking at you like, dude, what? And you keep running out of compressed redstone, take a look at these, the electronic circuits. That's going to probably be a good recipe for you. Let's go ahead and stop that. Collect these, throw them away, or I mean throw them in my ME system. Don't need wheat anymore because I successfully got my goat milk. Alright, so basically that tells you what I've been up to. Is I've been doing a lot of just sort of playing around with the creative tank. Made a bunch of tanks of latex. If we come down here, stuff that goes through the carpenter, I've got a big old tank, so over 1,500 of the primal mana, over 1,500 of the liquid DNA, 1,500 of the IC2 coolant, all of that stuff down here at my advanced carpenter, so it's good to go. Oh, and I'm out of latex. So I've got 20,000 latex in the drawer. Probably want to keep that running. I've made most of the stuff that I needed tens of thousands of latex for, but probably not a bad idea to just keep it rolling. But piece of cake, we can come up here. That's one reason I haven't gotten into singularities yet, is I'm still sort of working on things other than molten metal for singularities. So move this back down here, away from the liqueface. Throw that down. Let's see. Gonna momentarily store a bucket there, and then I can go back in here and shift left click and pick up my latex thing. I've been burning through lots of latex. Right click it there, right click again to fill it back up. So boom, I got latex. I'm going to fill up another 2, the ones I'm using for making plastic. Fill those back up with latex. And this will probably about cover me for latex for a while, I hope. Alright, and those are filling back up. And those will make another 20-some thousand latex, or tiny dry rubbers, so that's good. So that's one reason I have not really hammered out what I'm doing with singularities yet, is that quite frankly I'm still getting a lot of use from this creative tank, and I'm just now sort of getting to a point where I feel like I can sort of lock things down. Probably what I'm going to do is go ahead and spend the next day or so getting all of the things I need for more fluid tanks. So that will be making library entries for blood and fruit juice and mutagen, getting all of this stuff into these really cheap fluid tanks and getting those Ender.io fluid tanks into my fluid library here so that I have them in case I need them for anything else. And then once I have fluid tanks of all of these buckets of all of these different fluids, then I will be able to go ahead and dedicate the creative fluid tank to making singularities. And hopefully have a second and third creative fluid tank to help out so that maybe we can actually make 3 singularity types at once. Sort of just depends on how all this shakes out. I'm new at all this, so figuring out exactly how much we're going to do and what the right proportion of ingot formers with various upgrades to item transfer to quantum compressors, how that's all going to work. Still figuring that out. But I think I got a plan, and I'm going to work that plan and see how far we get. So right now, I'm going to pause and take a look at our runtime, see how much time we have left, and then maybe we'll change gears or do something else fun instead of all of this planning and playing with liquids. Be right back. Okay, and we are approaching the hour mark, so I've been babbling for far too long on all of this. But let's talk a bit about what I'm going to do between this episode and next. My main goals, I think, are going to be to just go ahead and get all of this liquid stuff nailed down. I had been working quite a bit, as we can see here, on getting the creative power cell going, so we're almost there. Starting to work on the creative generator, working on the creative gas tank. However, I don't super need any of those things right at the moment, other than I have to have them to progress. And I don't necessarily want to... Basically, I can't move to where I need to be until I have at least one more creative fluid tank, since both the gas tank consumes one, which we have one, so we could use this for the gas tank, but then we would need to create a second one for the creative vending upgrade, and then we wouldn't have one. So until I get 2 more creative fluid tanks, I'm going to sort of put some of this stuff back on hold. So to get those, I'm going to make these. These are not too bad to make. I have the Anglesite. Most of this stuff is programmed in. I can do most of it. I'm going to have to do the scavenger hunt for all the buckets, but I'll only have to do that once. And it'll be pretty easy because now just, like one, I won't have to make several ingots of anything to get a bucket. I can just make one ingot, 144 millibuckets, and then I'll have infinite amounts of all of this stuff. So it's not going to be too horrible. Probably the horrible part will be just working through the hundreds of draconic cores I'm going to need to make the awakened cores and chaotic cores and etc. And I'll need to make a bunch more ultimate ingots because I go through those like crazy in the end game. So the biggest thing that'll be going through my AE system is the demonically gargantuan drums. So let's take a look at that. That's another crafting thing. It's like, oh, it's on autocraft, no big deal, right? Well, it's no big deal until you realize you need 32 of them, which is going to be like 10,600 plates, plus 576 dense iron plates, etc., etc. So 1,000 double compressed cobblestone. These were actually a pain to make the first time because each demonic large plate, of which you need 128, is a block of demonic metal. So that's 1,000 demonic ingots. So if you're making them the first time, they suck. Now I can take one demonic ingot, turn it into infinite amounts of molten demonic metal, and then just print those out. So that's not a big deal. So that's one of the first things I'll be doing with my creative fluid tank. Um, I'm going to go ahead and print out these. The dense iron plates and the iron plates are pretty fast coming out of UU matter now, so we'll probably print those out. So this isn't going to be too bad uh, to make 32. 1700 gold plates. I can have my. That's going to be slow on my normal metal presses from immersive engineering, but I can have my nuclear craft pressurizers help out there. Um, so yeah, not too bad. I should check. I don't think cauldrons will go into UU matter, but I'll double check that. Not sure about sheet metal either. I don't think sheet metal will go in. Anyway, so we'll work on that. Get all of that busted out. So next episode, we should actually have 3 creative fluid tanks and being able to start working on singularities for real, and hopefully have this balanced in such a way that we are making singularities at a decent rate. Yeah, so that's sort of the plan. And anything else of excitement going on? Just want to check. I've got a decent amount of awakened draconium essence, so that's good. Getting the draconic core has just still been sort of a pain in the butt. How many of those do I have? You just need so many of them. I got 200. Gonna need another 100 as well, probably. So what is still slowing me down? I like that I can use the electronic circuits from UU matter now. I can do lead item casings from UU matter now, so that'll help that. Having unlimited boron, molten boron, is nice. So I could always make myself more ingots there if I need to. Plutonium, I don't think plutonium has a liquid. I don't think there is molten plutonium, unfortunately. Gosh, I cannot type. Yeah, there's no molten plutonium, so we'll still have to make that the hard way, but we have a decent amount of that. Empowered palace crystals, I've been trying to sort of keep ahead of those, so I sort of make a few every once in a while. The elite plating can be really helped out by things like lead plates and lead item casings coming out of UU matter. So that's sort of nice. Alright, so yeah, I'll go ahead and create another 100 of those. Get those cooking. Let's see, what else do we got here? So the wyvern ones, ludicrite. Is there a liquid version of ludicrite? That would be too good to be true. No, it doesn't look like plutonium or ludicrite, or I don't think cyanide either. Any of the extreme reactor stuff has a liquid version, which is unfortunate. And then the awakened cores. Yeah. But at least we have all the liquid DNA we want. We have all the alamite we need. We can print out, or we can, use molten enderium to make tons of blocks of enderium. We can make elementium now from molten elementium. Blaze meshes. Is there a liquid version of blaze? I know pyrotheum is sort of like that, but let's see, blaze powder. So you can't make it out of any liquid. You can turn it into pyrotheum and turn that into. But how about blaze rods? Is there any way to make that out of a liquid? Doesn't look like it. Alright, but I think I have plenty of blaze now, and if not, I have a very fast, oh yeah, I've got almost 10,000 blaze rods, so that's not a big deal. Sorry, I'm just sort of thinking out loud now so you can sort of see the kind of mental process that I've had to go through over and over again the last couple days of playtime. It's like every time I think, oh crap, that's a lot of that, I got to think to myself, well, wait, can I make it with UU matter? Or wait, is there a liquid version of it that I can make? Um, and it definitely has helped. Definitely has helped having this bad boy around to make some of the ingots and to make a lot of the other stuff. And it's going to help to have this huge catalog here of samples of all of this stuff. Samples of all the liquids. I want to make sure that before I find myself without a creative fluid tank, or even if I, even just in general, I want to have samples of all of this stuff here so that I always can just really quickly go, oh, hey, I need some of this. Boom, just grab a sample out, click it on here, have an infinite amount of it, and then empty this out, and then move on to the next liquid. That's going to be super powerful for the end of the game. All right, I think I've babbled enough. Shows you what I've been up to. Again, if I had to stress one thing, I would stress gauge dropper. The mechanism gauge dropper. Super cheap and super helpful when dealing with liquids. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. That's it. I will talk to you next time. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, or if you know of any tips for working on any of this stuff better, please let me know. Thanks.